Something evil this way comes, and I am genuinely terrified. Greetings and salutations, my name is Deltran, helping you make killing machines to get the most out of Fire Emblem Heroes, doing builds for Black Knight, Sinister General. You and I will go over his builds, his matchups, but first, let's get his digits. Let's throw the rubric at him. Ah, it's coming back at us! I'm sorry. We're looking for 42 or higher hit points, 35 in offensive stats, 32 in defensive stats, and we hit 2 of them, and we're off by 1 on the other 2. Guys, these are amazing stats. Now, resistance is the worst out of the lot, but honestly, other than the top 2 there, all of their resistances are garbage anyway. Otherwise, we're looking at some wonderful stats. Low hit points for an armor unit, and not the highest attack for an armor unit. Highest speed, tied with Amelia, don't have her pictured. This is a wonderful set of stats. 35 is low for an armor unit as well, but hey, 35 is going to block a lot of damage. See what he swings with. Alondite, Distant Counter! That deserved a song. That's all I need to say there. Legendary weapon, Might 16. Hey, speaking of things that can't be inherited, Black Luna. It's Luna, but on steroids. I don't know why it's black. I mean, it could be green. I like green. Green's a better color. Teal? Oh, I love teal. Teal Luna does 80% debuff to defense and resistance. Can't be inherited. Stays on Black Knight. If you want to use Teal Luna, you have to keep it there. Steady Stance 3. One better than what you would see on Brave Ike, but of course that means he doesn't get steady breath. Otherwise, granting that +6 whenever he's attacked. And Wings of Mercy. Yeah! Take a look at the obituaries. 39, 2, and 131. What? Is that really all you're bringing, Black Knight? I'm sort of disappointed now. 48 and 124 on defense. There's some good people that we kill here, but when it comes down to it, it's not an impressive lineup. It's things that you would sort of expect. You're a red unit. You can kill a green mage. Great. Oh, you could kill an archer that has high resistance but low defense. Great. It's not that impressive of a lineup. What is impressive is that he's going to retaliate on everything that doesn't, well, absolutely pwn him. Like Reinhardt down below. Don't let him get hit by blue mages. Don't let him get hit by some red mages. Don't let him get hit by people that have an armor-slaying weapon. So I think, honestly, the biggest part of the Black Knight is his distant counter. I think that's what's going to save him in his otherwise awkward stat line. A lot of people are expecting an armor unit to be able to take a hit. And while he has a high speed, and that's what's going to save him a lot of the time, in other cases, his relatively low armor is not really good. And that actually sort of worries me just a little bit. Now, his resistance really is a dumpster fire. You know what? Any mage will do. It's just knocking him out, unfortunately. That's not 100% true. He does have an okay hit point total. And his defense is good. So, I mean, archers are not going to be a gigantic worry, especially with that speed. You need to have a really well-built archer in order to do the double and then to be able to take him out. It's going to be difficult. Not impossible, but difficult. But mages, yeah, just go ahead and let a mage just punk us. So where the Black Knight really excels is sort of coming in the last minute to save the day. He's kind of sort of just sits there in the back like a general sort of would, and it's like, oh, you go here, you go there, you go fight that thing. And who made that build? Go kill it. And then whenever somebody goes, help, I'm hurt, probably Draug or somebody like that, I'm hurt, then all of a sudden Black Knight just swoops in and trashes them. And he is really well suited for this because with Wings of Mercy, he will go ahead and warp in. And here's something that I don't suggest later on, so here's a bonus, if you will. You could go ahead and just use something like Smite, or swap or reposition, but Smite to push the person that you just teleported to away so that the new person only attacks Black Knight. He gets a defensive boost against melee, he has a distant counter against everybody else, as long as you're not trying to take a hit from Reinhardt or Lind or somebody of that affinity. You're going to make that other person pay. And there's a good chance that other person, especially if they're a melee unit, has already been engaged in combat. So they're low on hit points, The 1 or 2, if they're really slow hits, the Black Knight's going to do is going to wipe them out. So Black Knight is really there just to save the day. And if you play him that way, you are going to have a wonderful time. If you want to mainline him like people do Hector and Zephiel, I think, and Effie to a degree, she has a terrible, for an armor unit, she has a terrible defense too. She does not have a terrible defense, but for armor, it's bad. If you want to play her that way, if you want to play him that way, just like those other people I mentioned, it's not going to work out too well. His weaknesses are going to show, and you're going to be disappointed in an otherwise awesome free unit. If you want to disrespect the general with some cheap upgrades, I have a few options for you. Reposition. Of course, why not? But honestly, they're an armored unit. Pretty much any movement skill is going to be awesome on them, and I always recommend a movement skill. Gives you a lot more flexibility in almost every build compared to a stat buffing skill. Ward armor is nice. It protects all of his allies, gives them a little bit of extra wiggle room. Fury 3 is pretty decent on him. With his hit points and with the fact that you're going to want to put him front and center, even though you probably shouldn't, the 6 damage will start to chip away at him a little bit, but Fury 3 does a lot of good stuff for him, gives him a lot more kills, nearly double on the vanilla units. And Vantage 3, honestly, he's not a super phenomenal Vantage user, but he can use Vantage in every situation, and if he's already sparring off against people, he tends to leave them rather wounded, so this is going to help you finish them off, especially if they're a pesky ranged attacker. We got 2 builds for you here. Both of them are set up for PvP, but this one works out well. Well, they both work out well in PvE, but right here, what we're talking about doing is having Aether and Steady Breath on him. This will charge up Aether really quick. It lets him hit with Aether, get that comparatively okay deduction in defenses compared to Black Luna anyway, and then he can heal up. It's a really good set on here. Vantage 3 makes sure that he will get off his Aether if he's on his last leg but has it charged, because there's nothing more disappointing than seeing a skill like that charged and not getting to use it. Our wins and losses against vanilla units aren't much different, but we do have a lot of luck against those within the DPT, speaking of. So 7-3 is our win and loss record against Deltrans PvP threats. Link down the doobly-doo if you want to take a look at those builds. Please do, go comment, suggest whatever you want with them. We're killing, we're killing a lot of squishy people. And the only people who are killing us are a couple blue and somebody who outspeeds us. Good old Brave Roy there. It's pretty disappointing, but that's the way it goes. Otherwise, we're leaving a lot of people on the table. One thing to note is that we are calculating these wins and losses based upon everybody except for quote-unquote vanilla infantry having some type of stat boost. So if they're a Blade Tome user, they're getting a buff. If they're Horsies, they're getting a buff. If they're Armor and Flyers, they're getting a buff. So we leave a lot of people damaged, and a lot of them, to be honest with you, are going to be so damaged and hurt us back in return, except for all the ranged ones, that we will be able to get Vantage going on them, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them we will kill in retaliation. So it's not too bad. Speaking of taking one to the face, we, archers are not a problem for us, really, which is wonderful. We just go ahead and punk them all down. A lot of people are ruining our day if we take that hit first. We see Tana there and Cordelia, of course. Reinhardt. Alencia is really just wrecking us. She is a force of nature. And, of course, Roy, once again, is still here. We still see a lot of the people in the gray that were there before. No big change there. But we do really do well when it comes down to it. Either way, we're getting 7 wins. And on offense, we only lose 3 of the fights we initiate. On defense, we only lose 9 of the fights that we are taking. That's not too bad, but honestly, a unit can do better. And I do have better for you. This is the build that I'll be putting on my Black Knight, although I am a really big fan of Life and Death. I have it on so many units, it's It's a little ridiculous. Regardless, 102 wins against vanilla units, 90 on defense. That's great. That DPT is amazing. But just to make sure we know what we're talking about here, Black Luna stays. We're going to put Life and Death 3 on there. Advantage 3, once again, is not the absolute best thing to have here. But whenever you are sparring and dueling against certain people, you're going to be able to retaliate and just bring them down, especially with how beat up we're leaving most people. As far as specific matchups in the DPT, yeah, the only person we lose to on initiation is Xander. That stupid quick riposte is really breaking us. Otherwise, all the bow users are there, except for Brave Lynn. It's really, really nice to see this going on. We actually get rid of Brave Ike in this particular case too. We don't get rid of all the red. Tana is somebody who stays down in the draws for us, which is pretty nice. And on the flip side, yeah, we are putting a lot of blue back into the defeats whenever we take one to the face. But you know what? This is still a really good matchup when it comes down to it. We're not suffering any more than the previous build, and the other build was arguably, actually not even arguably, was hands down better at defense with that particular kit. So we're doing very well for ourselves here. This is a very aggressive build. This build is meant to be trailing behind a couple of armor units, or to meant to just go out on its own and tackle some of the bigger threats that you know that it can take. It can go and take one hit, go in, do that, and with minimum support, just you can get them out of there. If you fight somebody who's not on the DPT, you're probably going to kill them. This is just a wonderful build that encompasses so much and takes care of so many things. And hey, do me a favor, share this video with people that might have questions about whether or not they should strive to get Black Knight. If you like your Fire Emblem information hot and fresh like Grandma's cookies, hit that subscribe button. My name is Deltran. Thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate all of you. And until next time, take it easy.